Games are still great despite everything. The gaming hobby and the games industry are changing dramatically. It's always been evolving, but now we have to contend with AI, predatory monetization, and skyrocketing prices that are pushing an increasing number of customers away. Now, I'm just a guy talking to a camera on YouTube, but that doesn't seem like a good turn of events to me. In fact, it looks pretty bad. But at the same time, this year has seen the release of what I think is banger after banger: Resident Evil Requiem, Subnautica 2, Forza Horizon 6, Lego Batman Legacy of the Dark Knight, 007 First Light, and more recently, as of recording this video, Mina the Hollower. All of them have received positive reception from critics and non-critics alike. It's been a stark reminder that despite all the stormy weather surrounding the industry, great games are still releasing from both AAA and indie developers. Of course, this is my opinion, and you might differ on what you think constitutes a great game. To me, a game doesn't have to be perfect to be great. The sliding scale of quality is vast, to the point where I'd consider both The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time and 007 First Light to be great games, even though the former is widely considered to be one of the best games of all time with a 99 on Metacritic, and the latter is not, with a 88 on Metacritic. But do you see what I did there? I used Metacritic to illustrate my point. Review aggregator websites like Metacritic and OpenCritic round up scores from across the internet and form an average as a number out of 100, and they're useful for getting a general idea of how well a game is received. But there is a limit, and I think we sped past that limit many years ago. Some people to this day get disappointed when a game that they were looking forward to reaches anything less than a 90 out of 100, almost as if the score is linked to a validation of their own opinions, which I think is a little bit silly. To get a 90 on Metacritic, you have to win over a bunch of critics with varied tastes and opinions, with different ideas of what a 9 out of 10 or an 8 out of 10 or a 7 out of 10 game actually means to them, which isn't easy. Personally, I think I'd be chuffed if anything I've made got scores like that, but that's just me. The point is, we're not doing maths here. There's no definitive equation for how to review or analyze a game. In that sense, review aggregators are fundamentally flawed. They're broken at their core, but despite that, people continue to place such high importance on them. It can lead to some dodgy situations, like the one that happened with Fallout New Vegas many years ago. Bethesda's contract with Obsidian said that if the game reached 85 or more on Metacritic, then the developers would receive a bonus. But because the game reached 84, Bethesda didn't give them that bonus. One single point off of an arbitrary number that Bethesda came up with just because. And yet here we are, all these years later, and the game is so beloved that they dedicated an entire season of the TV show to following up on it. So is it fair what happened to Obsidian? I don't think so. Now, Bethesda has already been metaphorically ripped to shreds for leaning so heavily on Metacritic. But are we any different? If a game isn't the highest rated of the year, some people can't seem to handle it. They'll complain online or engage in review bombing. The number consumes them. It controls them like the cordyceps fungus. We are Bethesda now. Bethesda is us. The race to the top of the pole has disconnected us from the reality of game development. It's made us ruthless perfectionists, not for our own art, but for other people's art. So I think there needs to be more nuance in gaming discussions. It's also important to distinguish between how much we enjoy a game and how well made it is. I'm not a fan of tactical strategy games like XCOM or Fire Emblem, but does that mean that they're bad? The answer is no. I'd say they're great games, but they're just meant for a different audience than me. And then there's gaming fatigue, which is when you've played so many games that it becomes harder and harder to find an original experience. I've gone through it myself. I've played so many third-person action adventure games that they just seem to blend together in my mind. But does a lack of originality mean that a new third-person action adventure game is inherently bad? Should every game be expected to have the creativity of something like The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask? I don't know about you, but I think that's asking a bit too much of developers. The simple fact is that new gamers are born every single day. Someone who plays 007 First Light now won't necessarily have played Uncharted or any of the million other games that are similar to it. It's especially bad in this hobby compared to movies or TV because game preservation is so bad. It's really hard for people to actually go back and play those older games. So as a result, there will always be a need for new games in previously explored genres. What matters is how well made they are. Do they run okay? Are the mechanics easy enough to understand? Do they achieve what they set out to do? And especially these days, are they worth the money? Through that lens, I think games are just as great now as they've always been. Sure, there are some that miss the mark. Actually, there are many that miss the mark. But that's happened in every single generation. It's always been a thing. My point is, the industry is in a dark place right now, but games like the ones I mentioned at the beginning of this video show that developers are still persevering and giving us fun, memorable experiences on a consistent basis. They're a bright spot in the mist, and I really appreciate everything that they've done and continue to do. And I, for one, will continue to play the heck out of them if my wallet lets me.